The moment you realize your power, everything in your life starts to change. And what I mean by that is whoever you see yourself as, or whoever you know yourself to be, is always going to be reflected back to you out in your reality. See, your life, your reality is just a reflection of you. And it took me so many years to finally understand this. So many years of me having hopes and dreams and wishes and goals, and feeling like no matter, even if I accomplished some goals, it still never felt like enough. It still never felt satisfying. I still never felt fulfilled. But when I came to the realization that everything that I experienced in my life, whether it was good or bad, was just a reflection of me. Because for the longest time, the majority of my life, I was someone who never felt good enough. Deep down inside, I never felt good enough. Even if good things happened to me, I still just never felt like I deserved it. I felt like there had to be a catch, or like if I received something good, it was going to get stripped away from me. And that's exactly what would happen. My concept of self, who I perceived myself to be, who I knew myself to be deep down, was what was running my show. And the moment that I changed the way that I saw myself, or the way that I knew myself to be, everything in my life shifted, and it did so very quickly. And I know a lot of the time you hear, oh, well, you need to heal yourself, or you need to, dig down deep and figure out what your traumas are and all this stuff, which I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But for me, I wasn't trying to waste time digging down deep to figure out exactly what caused the reason why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. Because deep down inside, I knew that it was just flat out, I didn't feel good enough. I didn't need to pinpoint the exact moment in my past that made me feel not good enough or anything like that. All I knew was that I just didn't feel good enough. And when I finally realized that, everything in my life started to change the moment that I understood that I am good enough. And that's the thing that I see a lot of people struggle with is they don't realize that they're already extraordinary. Like you are extraordinary. It doesn't matter what you've been through in your life. It doesn't matter if you've made mistakes. You're extraordinary. And the moment that you realize that, your whole world starts to change. You start to receive things in your life that you never even thought were imaginable. Or, like me, I used to receive good things, but then I feel like they would just disappear because I was not holding true to the fact that I'm good enough, that I am extraordinary. But when you hold true to that, when you know that for a fact, you experience things just start coming into your life like if it's nothing. Or you start going out and doing things naturally, organically, that follow the path of whatever it is that you want for yourself. And it doesn't ever feel like it's forced, it doesn't feel exhausting. Because that's the other thing is that when I would go out and try to do all the right things to achieve my dreams or my goals, it felt so exhausting. And I was like, there has to be some other way. Like, I know that, things in life are not always easy, but it just felt like so much was happening. And it was always so terribly exhausting for me. I'd get home from work, do the whole daily routine every single day, day in and day out, the same routine. Get home from work, felt exhausted, did whatever I needed to do around the house, ate dinner, worked out, whatever. Still felt exhausted. Go to bed at a decent time, wake up at a decent time, still felt exhausted. And I just could not understand why. I asked myself, why is life like this? Why does it feel like every day is the same? It feels like there's nothing really exciting, you know? And it's not that I felt miserable, it was more so that I've always been a happy person, but what I was lacking was love for myself. When I realized that I had love for everyone and everything else in my life except for me, that was my big aha moment, was like, wow, I really don't have the love for myself that I have for everyone else or everything else. And that was where I was stuck. Coming to that realization that, you know what, if I have so much love for everything else or everyone else, I need to have that love for myself too. I need to know that I'm good enough, that I can achieve my dreams, achieve my goals, and it doesn't have to feel like hard work, because that was why everything felt so difficult for me, was because I didn't feel deserving. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel good enough. And so life reflected that back to me. And it was almost like if the universe was saying, you know what, you don't feel good enough, here, you're on the right path, you're achieving your dreams, you're achieving your goals, but I'm going to throw all this other stuff at you to make it super exhausting because you don't believe in yourself. So that's exactly what you're going to get. And of course, that's exactly what I experienced because I didn't feel good enough. So, again, life is just a reflection. Your reality is a reflection of who you are. Your reality is you. So, if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you're living the same patterns day in and day out, even if you feel like you've been trying to do all the right things to make changes in your life, whatever that looks like for you. But if you feel like nothing is changing or nothing is working despite all the right things that you're doing, turn inward and really ask yourself, who am I? Because the answer to that question is exactly what's going to help you shift your life. And it doesn't have to take so much time to do it. It happens very quickly once you start believing in yourself, once you start seeing yourself as someone who is extraordinary, someone who is perfection. And I think I've said this in a couple of my latest videos. When you're born complete. You're born whole. You're not lacking anything. You don't have limiting beliefs. But whenever we go throughout our life's journey, we start building beliefs, even if we don't realize that we're doing it. But see, that's what happened to me, is somewhere along the line, I had this feeling or something happened where I got this feeling or this internal knowing that I'm not good enough, that I have to keep striving for more and more and more, and that it's never going to be enough because I'm not good enough, because I'm not deserving, because I'm not worthy, I'm not perfect, I'm not extraordinary. So I need to work really hard in order to feel like I'm extraordinary, in order to feel worthy, in order to feel good enough. But when you do, when you are living life through that lens, like you constantly have to prove your worth, prove you're good enough, prove your worthiness, that's when you keep aiming or striving for more and not receiving the fulfillment that you want. But when you turn inward and you start to understand that you are perfection already, you were born as perfection, you were born wholesome and complete, you weren't born lacking anything. But of course, naturally throughout life, we experience things. We turn into our beliefs. And again, that's not to place blame on anyone in our lives or any experience in our lives, but we do build belief systems. And a lot of the time, those belief systems are not beneficial for us. So when you're able to change those belief systems, and they're not something that's a hardcore fact, no matter how much we believe, because I used to be the queen of, oh, that always happens to me. Why am I so unlucky? Why does this always happen? The more I kept saying that, the more whatever bad things were happening to me kept happening to me, because that was what I experienced. That was my belief. Part of my belief system was bad things happen, or this always happens, that always happens. That's just how I am. That was who I was. And I experienced that in my life because that was who I was. So my life reflected that back to me perfectly. But when I finally realized, okay, well, I'm perfect already. I'm good enough already. I don't have to constantly strive for more because I get what I want and it stays in my life and I feel fulfilled because I am fulfillment. Deep down inside, I am perfection, I'm fulfillment, I'm good enough, I'm worthy, I'm everything. And when you realize that, the things that you want stay in your life. Not only do they come to you more easily, because again, your life is going to give you what you are or who you are. So things start coming to you more easily, more naturally, without you constantly having to fight your way to get what you want. I know that almost seems contradicting because our whole lives we hear, okay, you need to work hard in order to get what you want. Which, yeah, put in the work, right? But what I'm saying is when you change your concept of self, when you believe in yourself wholeheartedly, unconditionally, when you lead yourself with love, when you love yourself, you experience things that you wouldn't even imagine that you could have ever experienced in your life. You call in things to your life that you actually want for yourself. You lead yourself with love. You lead yourself by being an extraordinary person. And when you do that, experiences, people, places, things naturally come into your life like if it was nothing. When you set a goal for yourself, instead of feeling like you're climbing this ladder and it's never ending and you're doing everything right, but you still can't achieve your goal at the very top, when you lead yourself with love, when you lead yourself with the knowing that you're good enough, you are naturally, like organically led to your goal. It's not something that you have to necessarily sit down and come up with the best strategic plan to get it. It's about you knowing who you are deep down, knowing that you're worthy, you're deserving, everything. And then you're naturally led to that goal. Because the truth of the matter is that life is not a fight. Like we're not supposed to be fighting for our lives day in and day out. Life is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be lived through enjoyment, through love, through peace, through bliss. And when you realize that, and when you also realize that you are love, you are peace, you are bliss, you're worthy, you're deserving, you are perfection, you are limitless, when you realize that, then everything that you've wanted for yourself naturally comes into your life. And it doesn't have to take any sort of time at all. When you make the shift in your identity, that is something that is instant. Therefore, you see instant results. And it's not about results. So don't think about it as, okay, I need to see something outside in my world. Because it's not about seeing is believing. It's about believing is seeing, knowing who you are, knowing that you're worthy, deserving, everything that I just said. And you receive that in your life because, again, reality is just a reflection of who you are. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself, who am I? Who do I know myself to be? All it takes is just a shift in your self perception in order to change your reality. And that does it for today, guys. I will see you again next time. Love you.